This is my favorite Arc Warlock build in the entire game right now, and I'm glad it's starting to get some love and recognition because I have been on the Vesper Radius train since Witch Queen. I love this build, and I just want to share it with you guys, keeping it very simple. Starting off with what Vesper Radius does. The only part we care about is that while an Arc Super is equipped, shockwaves create a blinding explosion from your rift. This allows you to just have crazy crowd control in areas of the game you just shouldn't. High health targets like unstoppable champions, they are not a problem at all with this build. Drop a rift, they do nothing to you. Another great part about this exotic is that when you're nearby enemies and you're surrounded, your rift energy recharges even faster, and this does scale exponentially. So if you're surrounded by a lot of ads, you'll just see your rift bar go up crazy fast. As for the subclass, the aspects I go for are going to be Arxel and Electrostatic Mind. Now you might be wondering why I don't take something like Ionic Sentry, and this is not to say you can't, but I end up finding at times that my class ability doesn't come back when I want it to. It's a bit slower when I don't have the added ability energy from the Ionic Traces from Electrostatic Mind. Every single time you defeat a jolted or blinded target, you drop those Ionic Traces, which is just more ability energy for your Rift. Incredibly helpful and allows you to have that uptime even more. So that's kind of the reason why I go for Electrostatic Mind over Ionic Sentry, but you can kind of run whatever combination you want. Want to do Ionic Sentry Arxel, or if you want to do Ionic Sentry and Electrostatic Mind, you can run this too, but I find Arxel to be a little bit better because it has a higher uptime than Ionic Sentry. But again, this is really personal preference. The main power of the build is Vesper Radius. As for your grenade, you can run whatever grenade you like. I go for Pulse Grenade, that's just the one that I prefer, but if you want a little bit more blinding utility, you can always run Flashbang Grenade. As for your Rift, obviously you want to go with healing because when you're in those high-end areas, you can't always rely on blind because sometimes an enemy might stomp you. So having that healing will allow you to basically survive those bigger attacks a lot more often. Super, we go for Chaos Reach simply because this is just a quick, easy one and done super that recharges incredibly fast, especially with some of the mods we use. I know that Storm's Trance did get a buff recently, but I still find it to be underwhelming, especially in high-end content. Chaos Reach, just all around very good super, especially for champion chunking. Next up are Fragments. I go for Spark of Resistance, Spark of Shock, Spark of Beacons, and Spark of Amplitude. The main two of the build that are important are going to be Spark of Shock and Spark of Resistance. These two right here are the crux of the build, allowing everything to work and fall in place. Spark of Resistance allows us to have more damage resistance while we are surrounded by enemies, which, based on how Vesper Radius works, is all the time. Spark of Shock allows our Arxel to jolt targets, which is also incredibly strong. I feel like a lot of people forgot that when they made the buddy build changes that Arxel from the original subclass still works and benefits from it as well. You don't need a consumer grenade or anything. You can just use base Arxel and it'll work perfectly fine. This is incredibly strong. Jolting targets with this build is just like drop a rift and then just everything dies around you because Arxel just jolts everything at once. It's incredibly strong. Spark of Beacon is entirely up to you. This is kind of a flex pick based on what you used in the moment. If you're going to use something like Practic Blade to this build, which you definitely can, I would opt out of this because that's a kinetic weapon. But if, say, you're using something like ILSYM or Delicate Tomb or maybe Cold Heart, this is a great pick for those weapons, just allowing you to have even more blinding effects all the time. Because we're essentially amplified all the time. Spark of Amplitude is just to keep our armor charge fed more often. This build drops a ton of orbs, but if you feel like you're using orbs not as effectively, and you feel like you don't really need them as much, you can always opt out of this and use something like, say, Spark of Ions, which will drop even more Ionic Traces for you. As for weapons, keeping it very simple, the best in slot that I think is for this build is going to be ILSYM. We are in a very heavy sword meta right now, and this weapon is still very good. It's not as strong for like single target damage compared to like the Practic Blade, but ILSYM for ad clear, second to none. Use this thing, it's very strong. If you want to know the role I have, it's Waveframe, ILSYM with Arc Conductor. That's the role you're going to want to have. Very strong. Allows you to blind things with your sword. You kind of just stand near them, things die, and things become blinded just for doing one action. Other options I recommend are going to be like Cold Heart, Edge of Concurrence, Delicate Tomb, Lodestar, or Centrifuge if you decide to use primary options. Edge of Concurrence, kind of surprising. I feel like people sleep on the fact that you can use whatever exotic glaive on whatever class now. Actually quite surprising with this build. I enjoyed it. Give that one a try. As for my primary weapons, Midnight Coup and Multi-Mach, Overloads, barrier champions, that's all you gotta know. As for the mods, this right here is what I run, keeping it very simple. Dynamo, Kinetic Charge Siphon, Harmonic Siphon, Bolstering Detonation, Grenade Font, Firepower, whatever type of resist you want, stacks on stacks. Absolution, Arc Scavenger, this is for Ergo Sum. Special and Finisher is also for Ergo Sum, Reaper, and Powerful Attractions. The main things in the artifact that you're going to want to take note of are going to be Riposte. This allows us to stun unstoppable champions with our swords. Dielectric, which allows us to get Bolt Charge for defeating blinded or jolted targets, which is all the time. And Sword Storm Combo. That's a tongue twister. Try saying that 5 times. This is pretty good. It allows us to do some incredible damage with our swords, especially Ergo Sum. If you care about the fashion, this is what I'm rocking. Old school kind of Vex themed, using the Garden of Salvation helmet and a Vesper Radius ornament. This build really just lets you get in the face of the enemies incredibly fast and just lets you kind of face tank everything. You can see right now I'm just kind of in the face of an unstopped champion just wailing on him with a sword. This playstyle can definitely get you killed, especially depending on some of the Banes. You know, if Screebs are anywhere, which they are during this week's Grandmaster Alert, those will get you killed. But everywhere else, this is a very fun build where you kind of just get in the fray really fast and just deal tons and tons of damage with this build. Honestly, it's my favorite playstyle for Warlock. It's kind of a stark contrast versus, like, you know, the healing Well of Radiance Warlock where you stand back and do nothing. No, this is like you get in their face and you really just take control of the situation. You use the blind to just make the enemies basically do nothing to you. It's a very, very fun playstyle that I strongly suggest you try out. It's good this season too because you're Dielectric, which just allows you to get even more Arc subclass Verds. You know, you can see in the gameplay, I'm just running around, just basically just letting Ergo Sum zap everything, keeping them blinded over and over again with the rifts, and I'm just farming up rift energy because I'm staying surrounded by all these enemies at all times. It also allows me to build up my Chaos Reach incredibly fast because with Dynamo, every time we drop that rift, we basically get like 1/4 of our super because of how many enemies are nearby. Again, I do want to go ahead and just note, like Screebs, they are a problem. I was trying to do this Grandmaster Alert solo flawless, but I'm not built like that. I kept dying by Screebs. I'm not gonna lie. If you are expecting to be able to, you know, live forever, that's not possible. Some things in this game will just one-shot you, even if you are in a rift, even if they are blinded too. Sometimes the Screeb enemies would just ruin an entire run, and it was just nothing I could do. But this is, again, solo flawless. We're talking about solo flawless here. If you're in a team, this build is exceptional because it just allows you to be an amazing team player, giving your teammates Arc Souls as well as your Arc Soul, dealing a bunch of Jolt, dealing with overloads. You also blind, which deals with unstops. Right there, you deal with 2 champion types just by dropping your rift. Incredibly valuable. Try this build out this season. I promise you won't be disappointed. Anyways, that's all from me. I appreciate you watching. I'm going to let the clips roll for a little while longer just to get some more gameplay, but thank you very much for watching, and I appreciate your time. Have a nice day.